My family threw me out over a false theft. 3 years later, they found the engagement ring in the garbage disposal. Hey Reddit. I never imagined my family could turn against me so cruelly, but life has a way of blindsiding you. This all started 3 years ago when my sister Lisa got engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Matt. Lisa was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was the black sheep, always struggling to live up to their expectations. The day Lisa announced her engagement, my parents threw an extravagant party. Every relative, family friend, and neighbor was invited. It was supposed to be a joyous occasion, but it quickly turned into a nightmare for me. During the party, Lisa's engagement ring went missing. It was a beautiful diamond ring, one that had been passed down in Matt's family for generations. People were frantically searching for it, overturning furniture and rummaging through every corner of the house. Then, out of nowhere, my mother accused me of taking it. At first, I thought it was some kind of sick joke. I laughed nervously and said, "You can't be serious." But the look on her face told me she wasn't kidding. My dad joined in, saying, "You were the last person in the room before it went missing. How could you do this to your sister?" I was in shock. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own family, people who were supposed to love and trust me, were accusing me of stealing Lisa's engagement ring. I tried to defend myself, but my words fell on deaf ears. Lisa stood there crying, accusing me of ruining her life. Matt looked at me with pure disgust, and the guests started whispering. The humiliation was unbearable. My parents demanded I hand over the ring, but I had nothing to give them because I didn't take it. I begged them to believe me, but their minds were already made up. My dad told me to pack my things and leave the house immediately. He said, "If you can't respect this family, you don't belong here." I packed my bags in tears, leaving the only home I'd ever known. I had nowhere to go and no one to turn to. I ended up crashing on a friend's couch for a few weeks before finding a tiny, run-down apartment. I struggled to make ends meet, taking on multiple part-time jobs just to survive. For 3 years, I lived with the stigma of being the family thief. None of them reached out to me, not my parents, not Lisa, not even my younger brother, who used to idolize me. Holidays came and went, and I spent them alone. They didn't even bother to send me a text or a card. It was like I had been erased from their lives. Then, 3 years later, everything changed. One day, I got a call from my mother. Her voice was shaky, and she sounded like she had been crying. I hadn't heard her voice since the day they kicked me out, so I was immediately on edge. Before I could say anything, she blurted out, "We found the ring." I was stunned. It took me a moment to process what she said. She went on to explain that the ring had been lodged in the garbage disposal the entire time. Apparently, it must have fallen off Lisa's finger while she was washing dishes during the party. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. For 3 years, I had been branded a thief, thrown out of my home, and abandoned by my family, all because they didn't think to check the garbage disposal. My mother kept apologizing, saying they had been wrong to accuse me. She begged me to come over so they could make things right. Against my better judgment, I agreed. When I arrived at their house, it felt surreal. Everything looked the same, but I felt like a stranger. My parents, Lisa, and even Matt were waiting for me in the living room. They all looked uncomfortable, like they didn't know what to say. My dad was the first to speak. He said, "We're sorry, my name. We made a terrible mistake. We should have believed you." Lisa chimed in, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry. I should have known you'd never do something like that." Their apologies felt hollow. For 3 years, they had let me suffer. They didn't care about the truth until it smacked them in the face. I told them exactly how I felt. I told them about the pain they caused me, how I struggled to survive on my own, and how their betrayal shattered me. My mother started crying, but I didn't care. I needed them to understand the gravity of what they had done. My dad tried to justify their actions, saying they were under a lot of stress and didn't know how else to react. I looked him straight in the eye and said, "Stress doesn't justify ruining someone's life." Lisa offered to give me money as a way to make up for everything, but I refused. I didn't want their guilt money. What I wanted was something they could never give me back, the 3 years I lost because of their betrayal. I left their house that day with no intention of reconciling. They may have found the ring, but they lost me in the process. Since then, I've been focusing on rebuilding my life. I've gotten a better job, made new friends, and even started dating someone who truly values me. My family occasionally tries to reach out, but I've kept my distance. I've learned that some wounds are too deep to heal. To this day, I still wonder how things could have been different if they had just believed me. But I've also learned that sometimes, the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. That's all for today's video, folks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us next time for more exciting content. See you next time.